This conference will now be recorded.
Oh, hello. Guys, can you hear me? Am I audible? G1 Shekhar Bhavan.
Yep. Good evening.
One second.
Yeah.
You aren't audible. I can't hear you guys properly.
Can you hear us now, Shoaib?
Oh, yeah, much better now.
Yeah.
Okay, one second, please.
Shoaib, just a follow-up that there are two recordings has been pending. So yesterday is on 30th.
Oh, I've forgotten to share them myself as well, guys. I'll share them today, Shekhar. And I didn't inform the institute about the missing recordings. I think they must have updated by now. If they haven't, I'll ask them again to do it tonight again. And yeah, you'll be getting the recordings from my end as well, Shekhar.
Okay, okay, sure.
Right. One second, guys. Let me share my screen. Right. So in today's class, we're supposed to be going with malware attacks. Again, understanding how to attack systems or hack systems with malwares. Let me open up the notes for that. As mentioned, guys, from here onwards, there will not be much theory. It's more of a practical implemented topic from here on. So firstly, again, let's talk a bit about malwares first, and then we'll get into the practical part. So when you talk about malware attacks, guys, again, when you talk about a malware first, basically it is a word joined by two different terminologies. So mal stands for malicious and ware stands for your softwares. So malware is basically malicious software, any sort of software which performs a task other than what is it was intended for to harm the system is known as a malware. So on the forefront, any malware would look like a very genuine application. So it could look like in again a setup file, it could look like an image, it could look like a PDF documentation, it could look like a compressed zip file. But internally, it's an application to perform a certain operation on your device, which could definitely harm your system. So that's a malware. And depending on what operation it performs, depending on what activity it takes up, you have different categories of malwares. Okay, so there's viruses, worms, trojans, ransomware, adware, spyware, whatnot. People usually have a misconception that viruses are the only malwares available, but those are the most basic ones, I would say. Okay, they're much more complex malwares as well, which can perform a lot more harmful impact on your device. But again, let's talk about each of these practically. So firstly, when you talk about again malware, a virus theoretically, a virus is basically a file which once installed, it starts self-replicating itself. Okay, so just like any human body virus, again, when a human body virus enters your system, it might be a single cell organism, but then it starts self-replicating, starts multiplying in your body and starts infecting or affecting your normal human, healthy human body cells. Similarly, a computer virus works the same way. It gets its analogy from the on the basis of a human virus itself. It works the same way. So again, when you download it, it is just a singular exe file and a singular application. But once it's executed, once you double click on it, it starts self-replicating. It starts infecting other files. It starts again injecting its code in those files. It can delete other files. It can start up any random application on your system. It can crash the system, do whatever operation that the hacker intends to. So you can write your own malware. You can perform whatever operations you want to perform by writing the code for it. Okay, for a virus. Okay. So when you talk about the next malware, when you talk about worm now, just like how a worm spreads from one plant to the other plant in a crop, similarly, a worm in a computer world is basically a file which spreads from one system to the other system. So your viruses cannot do that. They only affect one singular system. But the main task of a worm is it first affects the network interfaces. So it searches for what network interfaces are available. And from those network interfaces, it tries to replicate from one device to the other device. So whenever you want to widespread a malware, that malware is always combined with the worm. So in order to spread it from one device to the other device or to the entire network, you have to combine it with the worm. Okay. Then you have Trojan. Now, basically, this word called Trojan comes from this Greek history, I would say, from the War of Troy, I think. So there was something called a Trojan horse. How many of you know what that is? Has anyone ever heard about it? Trojan horse. Basically, when you talk about this Trojan horse, according to history, basically it was a wooden horse which was sent from one kingdom to the other kingdom as a decoy gift. But internally, this was just a decoy for soldiers inside. So when the horse was allowed inside the other kingdom, the soldiers came out of it and they attacked that kingdom and won over it. And when you talk about it in the computer terminology, it's an application to create a backdoor. Okay, so basically, a backdoor is an unrestricted and unauthorized remote control. So basically, through a Trojan attack, an attacker can remotely control the device. He can access all the data on the device. He can delete the data if he wants to, or steal that data remotely. Okay. So when you talk about Trojan, it's a malicious file disguised as a genuine file to create backdoors, unrestricted and unauthorized remote connections to the victim. Then you have ransomware. Whenever you hear the term ransom, it involves blackmail. So basically, a ransomware is a tool which, once installed on your system, encrypts all the user files. Okay, so whatever data you might have, your personal data, your documents, images, applications as well, doesn't matter what it is, all the files get encrypted. And when you click on any file, when you try to open up any file, it displays a message saying, "Hi, your system has been hacked, and if you want access back to your files, you need to make a certain payment to the hacker. Unless and until you make the payment, you will not get access to these files, and these files will automatically get deleted as well," is what they threaten you with. So they might provide you a link, a cryptocurrency link also, to make the payment. But even if you make the payment, there is no assurance or there's no guarantee that you would get the decryption link to decrypt the data. So basically, ransomware is where hackers try to encrypt your files and blackmail you in return for your own data. Okay. And then you have something called adwares. So basically, adwares are applications which, once installed, pop random ads on your screen. So again, these are basically again pop-ups in your browser initially. So they are basically ads that pop up in your browser from malicious websites or illicit websites, pornographic websites or torrent websites or whatever it is. So they pop up as ads then, and if by chance or by mistake, if you click on any of those ads, it installs a plugin in your browser, and with that plugin now you get random ads in other safe websites as well. Okay, so again, and these ads are also very misleading again. So they might give you a pop-up an ad saying your system is infected with malware, so please click on this link to download a free antivirus. But when you click on that, it might in turn link you to or lead you to other malwares as well. So adwares are basically malwares which pop up random ads on your screen, which are very misleading and which are very malicious. Okay, when you click on those, you might be installing much more malwares on your device. So that's an adware. Okay, and then you have spyware. Now this is like a Trojan, but not doesn't give you complete remote control. It only allows you to monitor the victim's system. So again, you can watch their desktop or you can capture all the keystrokes that the victim might type on his system. So that is a spyware, to remotely spy on the user and get that data from a remote system. Okay, exactly. Any questions or doubts up to this point? Anyone? Bhavan, Shekhar, Jeevan.
I understood, sure.
Right. So let's get into the practical part, guys. Let's talk about how do you create a virus. So again, these viruses can be developed in any programming language of your choice. You can write it in C, C++, Java, Python, or whatnot. So in the upcoming sessions, guys, I'm going to share a resource file with you where there's a course included to learn Python and creating malwares with Python as well. It's basically a Udemy course. I'll explain about it in the resources class. But if you're familiar with Python programming, it's much easier to learn that course. If not, it is going to also explain what Python programming is. Although, as mentioned, if not Python, if you are familiar with any other programming language, you can still develop malwares. So for Windows, again, we can write it in the basic inbuilt batch scripting language as well. So whatever commands you have that you can run in your Windows terminal are called as batch scripting commands. So if you go to your browser, search for batch, just a second, guys. Yeah, if I search for batch scripting commands here. I get lots of websites which might explain me what batch commands are. As you can see, these are all the commands that your Windows terminal by default understands. CLS to clear the screen, CD to change directory, copy to copy a file, del to delete a file, date to display the date, echo to again display a certain message on your system. So these are all commands which the operating system by default understands. So if I go to my command prompt and if I type the command date, it shows me the date. Okay, today's date. Okay. Now if I again escape, if I don't want to change, I don't want to change any of this over here. Okay, and if I run the command echo, and if I type a message, let's say hello, Shoaib, and if I hit enter, you can see that message gets echoed back to me. So these are commands which are basically by default understood by your Windows terminal. And now you can start writing your malware in this programming language itself. So I'll open up my Windows 7 virtual machine here. Just a second. Yep. So I'm gonna open up my root account, and now I'll start writing some malicious code in bash scripting. So I'll open up a new text file, and in this text file now I'm just gonna call it sample for now, and here I'm gonna write some malicious code to perform just certain operations. So let's say I write the first line as @echo off. What I indicate by this line is I don't want any pop-up on the screen. I don't want any messages back reflected back to me. I just want this program to run or this application to run silently in the background. Then I'll type go to :1, and under :1, let's say I want to open up a system application. So I can type here notepad, and this opens up the notepad application for me. Then to perform second operation, I can type go to :2, and under :2, let's say I want to delete a certain file. So I can type del to delete a file. And if I have to corrupt the operating system, I can delete any inbuilt C drive file. So if I go to C drive, Windows, boot, and if I delete any file from here, let's say, okay, that could again cause problems with my operating system. But again, I don't want to delete the original file, guys. I'll just copy this, paste it to my desktop so that I can delete the duplicate version of it. If I delete it from the original location, it might cause problems with my OS. So right now, I've just made a copy of it on my desktop, and I'm going to delete that version now. So I'll copy the path, and I'll delete that file here. And now let's say if I want to perform one more operation, I can type go to :3. And under that :3, let's say shut down the system or crash the system. Shut down and restart the system in a time period of 5 seconds. So these are the commands I've written. There's tons and tons of other commands available as well. It all depends on how much good you are at programming to build a malware. Now, let's say I want to perform just these 3 operations. I can now save this file, and now I have to convert this into a malicious application. So now the main question that arises here is how do we convert this text file to a very genuine looking exe file and a Windows application? So first things first, I need to convert this text file into a batch script. So first, these extensions are not visible for the files. So I'll go back to my file explorer, and in my file explorer, I'll go to organize, and in organize I can go to folder and search options, and in folder and search options I click on view, and here I uncheck this box called hide extensions. And now once that's unchecked, I can click on apply and OK. And now you can see there's an extension available or visible for this file .txt. So first things first, I'm going to change that extension from .txt to .bat, which stands for batch. So any batch file always has this extension called .bat. So when you change the extension, you would notice the file's icon changes as well. So this is a script now, which if I execute, it will automatically execute all the commands in it. Okay. So if I double click on it, every operation written in it will execute one after the other. But Frankly speaking, if you send a file as such, no one would ever click on it. It looks very suspicious and it has a very different extension as well, .bat. So it's not even an exe file. So now we're going to convert this batch script into an exe file. So I'll go to my browser now. So since I don't have a browser in my Windows system, I'm going to download one now because Internet Explorer is very outdated. So I'm going to go back here. 1 second, guys. My bad. I think I've forgotten to record the session today. But no worries. I think I have the recording for the session from an older batch with the same data. I'll share that recording at least in the meanwhile. So again, guys, today's recording will be from a different or an older batch. Okay, apologies for that. I'll try to record the sessions from tomorrow without fail. Okay. So first things first, I'm going to download a browser here. Let's call this Firefox. Let's download the Firefox browser. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to click on download Firefox for Windows. Might be a bit slow. Your Internet Explorer is very outdated. If you scroll down, you should get a button here called download Mozilla Firefox. Sometimes you can get it for, again, since this is an older operating system as well, this version of Firefox might not work. It might throw you an error. But let's see. Continue to this website.
Just a small question, Shweb. We can do these things in any of the websites, right? Any of the browsers, even in Google Chrome also it's possible.
Yeah, any browser works. But since this is a virtual machine and your Google Chrome browser eats up a lot of RAM, I'm using Firefox, which is much more lightweight. So you can download Firefox or Google Chrome, anything works.
Okay.
Oh, as you can see, it says this version of Firefox is not going to work for this. But no worries, this is going to redirect me to a different website here. And you can see there's an option to download Firefox for my 32-bit operating system, my Windows 7 older version. So I'll click on this Firefox ESR 32-bit and this should work. Or you can directly search for this as well, Firefox 32-bit. But we learn from our mistakes. So I'll click on run again. And now it should download and perform the installation. Click on run again. And now you can see Firefox is extracting. And after extraction, if I click on yes, this starts the Firefox setup. Next, standard, next, and install. That's it. Now once Firefox is installed here, we can now download a BAT to exe converter. So now I'm going to go to my browser. And in my browser, I'm going to search for a BAT to exe converter. So we're going to convert our BAT script file into a very genuine looking exe file here. So again, when you do that, you get lots of websites here. Scroll down and you should find a website called Major Geeks. A very good website again to download a lot of cyber security applications. But again, please download them in your virtual machines only because we have not seen yet how to verify for malwares. So these websites can contain malwares as well, right? So again, once I show you how to check for malwares, then you can safely download them in your base operating system as well. But for now, you can see there's a BAT to exe converter here. I'm going to click on download at the rate Major Geeks. And this should start downloading my BAT to exe converter as well now. Might take a minute since the browser is a bit slow. But once downloaded, we can exit the browser. And now we can go back to our file explorer, downloads, and there's the BAT to exe converter. Right click, run it as admin. Yes. Click on English, OK. Click on I accept the agreement. Next, 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 install. And once that is done, this should start the BAT to exe converter for us. So this is what the exe converter looks like. First things first, I need to click on open here. select my batch script, click on open again, and you can see it has imported my batch script here. Once it is imported over here, the first important thing for your exe is an icon. So since I don't have an icon now, I'm going to download an icon as well. So I'll go to my browser, and if I want any icon, I can just search for that icon here. So let's say if I want to download the Zoom meeting icon, I can search for Zoom Meet ICO file. If you don't find an ICO file, if you find any image, JPEG or what, you can convert that also to an ICO file online, JPEG to ICO, PNG to ICO, etc., etc. But if you directly find an ICO file, that's much better. It makes your job easier. So yeah, I've got some icons here. This looks pretty neat and pretty believable. So I'll select this icon here. And now I'm gonna download that icon. So there's an ICO file option here. I'll select that ICO file, and now I'll select download. Baba, sound कम करो. Oh, sorry about that, guys. So click on download ICO file. And this should start the download automatically. Yeah, it's downloaded. Once the ICO file is downloaded, guys, now we can again go back to exe converter. Click on this checkbox here. Click on browse. Click on, select that ICO file here and click on open. That's it. We don't want to give any password for this, guys. This application should run as soon as it is clicked on. So it shouldn't ask me for any sort of password. Working directory, most of your malwares work from your temp directory. Does anyone know how to access the temp directory, guys, in your Windows system? I think I've shown this in the Linux commands class. Do you know the shortcut to access the temporary folder in Windows?
From the run menu, we should type temp or %temp.
Right, perfect. So if you open up your run and if you search for percentage temp percentage, that gives you temp directory. Quite hidden folder if you notice. Most of your malwares run from this location itself, guys. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my back to exe converter, select temp directory there, or you can select app data as well. Anything works, and you can give the exe format as 64-bit Windows Invisible. So it works for the latest operating systems and runs silently in the background. And then you also have to request admin privileges. So again, user access control. Since you're deleting some files from the C drive, it might require admin privileges for that. Okay. And there's another option called, or another tab called embed here. So if you want to combine this malware with other malwares, if you want to embed other malwares in this, you can add those files here. Right now I don't want to do that. And then in version information, I can include some random data to make this look a bit believable. File version, let's say 1.2.1, product version 1.2.2, product name Zoom meeting, Zoom video conferencing app. Okay, etc., etc. You can just fill up some random details here. And now when I click on convert and save it to my desktop with the name, let's say Zoom or Zoom underscore installer. This is the name commonly given for Zoom meetings installer. And now you can click on save, and now you would notice on my desktop it should generate a file for me. Oh, did I give desktop itself or did I give a completed? Oh, it should be in downloads over here. Sorry, it was saved in downloads. So if I go back to my downloads folder here, you can see this is the new application which we just generated. So again, we started from a very simple text file, and this is what the application looks like now. Pretty genuine, with an admin symbol as well to run this as administrator. And now when I right click on this and run this as admin, first operation that it should perform is open up a notepad file. As you can see, it opens up a notepad file. As soon as I close the notepad file, carefully observe this file now, boot.sdi. That should get deleted now. So if I close the notepad file, this file has deleted, and within 5 seconds, Windows is shutting down as well on its own, and I cannot do anything to stop this. So again, this is a way of again performing or creating your own malwares with your programming language. Okay. Again, as mentioned, the more better, I mean, the more coding you know, the more better or the more complex malwares can be generated. Okay, here I've just performed three operations in real time. Hackers can write a lot more code to perform much more dangerous operations as well. Replicating files or hiding your desktop applications or again corrupting the operating system files and again crashing your system multiple times. Okay, so again, all of these operations can be performed with just some better coding knowledge. Okay. Is that clear, guys? Any questions or doubts up to this point?
Yes, sure. So the batch scripting commands, it's be used only in the programming language, correct?
Yeah, again, when you talk about Windows programming, again, code that Windows operating system by default understand, it's called batch scripting. For Linux,
And,
it is called bash scripting, BASH. For Windows, it is batch commands which you can execute in your Windows terminal or Windows command prompt.
and this is where the programming language will help us to create the malwares for
Yes,
cybersecurity.
exactly. So in cybersecurity, one of the important fields where you need programming is malware development or malware analysis as well. Understanding how these malwares are built or analyzing what these malwares are doing internally in the background. So that is one field in cybersecurity where you need programming. Unless and until you're going for malware development or malware analysis, you don't need much programming in cybersecurity.
Okay,
Exactly,
okay.
Shikhar.
Yeah. And also the directory that you given the location as a temp, is it always should fall on temp, or is it's okay that we can give an different directory like desktop or documents or
You
downloads,
can give it
whatever?
anywhere. Again, as hackers, they would not make it so visible on your desktop. They would just hide it in very internally in the system so that you can't even find out where it is to delete it. So
Yeah.
that's why I gave temp directory because it's quite hidden in the operating system. If not, as mentioned, you can create the application anywhere. So it runs from that location after it is executed.
And also, Shubh, the third question I have is there any possibilities that we can get to know if it's a any kind of malware by seeing the document? Any
By seeing the
possibilities that we,
document.
you know?
Oh, if there's an exe file, how do you figure out if this is a malware or not? Is what your
Yeah,
question?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely, Shekhar. That is what we're going to learn in the upcoming session. So there's
Okay.
malware prevention techniques as well. We'll learn that. How do you verify basically whether a file is safe or not before you install it or before you execute it? That is an important point to note. We'll learn about that in the next session. Sure.
Completely
Okay.
understand.
But before that, as mentioned, this is one of the malwares, guys. There's definitely other much more dangerous malwares as well. So I'm going to theoretically explain one more malware today, which is Trojans. Okay, what are Trojans and how do these Trojans work? One second, I think someone has raised
Hello.
their hand. Yeah, Jeevan.
Yeah. Whatever the code you have write in that file, it is a batch script exactly. So we have the different languages also to write that to in a batch script, or we should use the another things in that.
Again, this is the easiest way, G1, because batch is something which is understood by default by the Windows programmer, Windows application or Windows operating system. But basically, if you're writing it in other languages, so if you're writing it in Python, if you're writing it in Java, what
Yeah,
hackers do is try to convert that file into a compiled version of Windows. So they attach a compiler as well because your Windows operating system might not by default understand Python programming, it does not by
yeah.
default understand Java. So what they do is they embed a compiler as well so that it can be understood to the Windows programming language. So from that
Okay,
they convert that file into again into an exe, and then it is sent to the Windows target. So again,
Okay.
for batch scripting, we don't need that because as mentioned, batch is by default understood by Windows.
Okay. So it's a basic language. It is understood by the Windows.
Yes, it is the language that you use in the command prompt in Windows. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So what commands we run in Linux are called as bash scripting, BASH. Okay, and in Linux in Windows it is called batch scripting, BATCH. They sound very similar. Okay, but again, these are the commands that are understood by default by the operating system. Batch for
Okay.
Windows and BASH Linux. Okay, Bash is again the language which is used in shell in Linux operating systems. Okay, so to build malwares in Linux, you have to learn Bash. To build malwares in Windows, you have to learn Bash.
Okay.
That's it,
Okay.
right? Okay, so let's talk about one more malware, guys. Theoretically, tomorrow we're going to talk about it practically as well, called Trojan applications. So basically, when you talk about Trojans, guys, this is not a single application now. It consists of two parts. So there's something called a Trojan server, and then something called a Trojan client. So reset the canvas. So let's assume this is the attacker machine here and this is the victim machine here. Now, whenever you talk about Trojans, guys, as mentioned, your attacker tries to generate a remote connection to the victim. Okay. So for that, he needs something called a Trojan client and a Trojan server. So this is the attacker here, and this is the victim here. Now, basically, as mentioned, in the attacker, he has an application called Trojan server, TS. Oh, sorry. Now, this Trojan server, to define it, Trojan server is the application which is used to configure the connection type of the Trojan, and it is installed on the attacker's side, the attacker's machine. And then you have a Trojan client, TROJANCLIENT client. Trojan client now is the application which is used to initiate the connection between the attacker and the victim. And therefore, it is installed on the victim's machine. Victim's device. So from the Trojan client, from the Trojan server itself, you generate something called a Trojan client (TC), and this TC now is sent to the victim. And once it is sent to the victim, and once it is executed here, that builds a connection between the attacker and the victim, guys. Okay. Now this connection is also in two formats. There's something called as a direct connection. There's something called as a reverse connection. In the olden days, they used to work on something called direct connection. It doesn't work in today as well. That's why we have reverse. Okay, but I'm going to explain both of them theoretically now. Okay. So basically, when you talk about direct connection, guys, what happens in direct connection is you configure the Trojan client in such a way that this Trojan client is given a port number. So let's assume you give a port number like 6666. Now, what this Trojan client is supposed to do is once it is installed here, as soon as it is executed or installed, that port number opens up here. So that port 6666 now changes into a listening state. So once that port is open now over here, what the attacker does is he initiates a connection now. So from his device, he directly initiates a connection to the target system on that port. Now this is called as direct connection, guys. And this direct connection has two flaws in it. It doesn't work for two certain reasons in today's world. So reason number one is in order to connect to this machine, the victim machine's IP is necessary. Unless and until you know what this machine's IP is, you don't know what machine to connect on the port 6666. Secondly, if there's a firewall, this firewall will always block an incoming connection. So this connection is an incoming connection to the victim, and all incoming connections from unknown sources by default are blocked by a firewall. That is what direct connection is. To overcome these problems, we have something called reverse connection, which is very much possible in today's world. So what happens in reverse connection now is, if I draw this out again, so let me do one thing. Yeah, much better. Okay, so this is direct connection here, guys. And now I'm going to show reverse connection as well. So again, same thing. Let's say we have an attacker machine here and we have a victim machine here. Okay, attacker and victim. Now just like in the earlier connection as well, in the attacker machine you have the Trojan server. So here we have a Trojan server, and with this Trojan server you create a Trojan client as well, TS, and then you create a Trojan client, TC. Now this time in reverse connection, what you do is, rather than giving a port number, you now specify the attacker's IP in the Trojan client. So this attacker's IP is sent in the Trojan client. And rather than opening a port on the target system, now with the Trojan server, what you do is you open up a port on your own system itself. So over here, in the attacker's machine itself, I'll open up a port like 6666. Okay. And now when this Trojan client is sent to the victim here, so if you send this to the victim, the main job of the Trojan client now, once it is executed here, is that it makes the victim now connect back to the attacker's IP. because we are sending the attacker's IP in the Trojan client. So now the victim, what the victim does is he now initiates a reverse connection back to us on our system's port. Okay. Now in this scenario, we don't need the victim's IP at all, because we are giving victim our own IP and then we are telling him you reach back to us. And secondly, even if there's a firewall here, this firewall never blocks an outgoing connection. Outgoing connections are always allowed by a firewall, because the firewall believes user is making connections himself, so he needs to trust the user. If a firewall blocks outgoing connections as well, you will not be able to connect to any website on the internet, because all of these are outgoing connections from your browser. So firewall always believes the user that he will make proper or genuine outgoing connections. But incoming connections are always blocked, because you never know who can be connecting to your system. So firewall by default blocks all incoming connections, but outgoing connections are always allowed. And that is why this reverse connection is something which still works in today's world. Oh, sorry, my bad. So here, this is my reverse connection. Is that clear, guys? Any questions regarding what direct connection is or what reverse connection is, or how they are different from one another? Does anyone want me to
Actually,
explain?
yeah, sir. Reverse connection is quite confusing. Can you just explain it again?
Sure, definitely. So again, to explain reverse connection, as to note the difference. So if you notice over here in the direct connection, what are we doing? We are trying to connect from our device to a remote device. So on the remote system, we are opening a port, and then if we know the target's IP, we connect on that IP on that port number. Okay. So you need an IP and a port number to connect. In reverse connection, what we're doing is we're not connecting to the remote system. We are telling them, I'm going to provide my IP to you and my port number as well to you. And what you do is you connect back to me rather than me connecting to you. I'm asking, so rather than me coming to your house, what I'm doing is I'm sending you a letter and I'm giving you my address. And then I'm telling you, you come back to me, because at your home, your dad is not allowing me to come to your place. So I'm saying, my dad is okay with you coming over, so you can come back to my house. Okay. So in the same way, in reverse connection, I'm not trying to connect to the foreign system. I'm giving them my address, I'm giving them my location, and I'm not telling you connect back to me, because I can't connect to you because of your firewall, but you can connect back to me. Okay. So what I'll do is, if my system has a firewall, and if that firewall is blocking incoming connections, I'll switch off the firewall. Okay. So that now this incoming connection will be allowed. Okay. So in reverse connection, I'm just sending my IP address in the Trojan client, and then I'm saying, what you do now is you connect back to my device where I have an open port open on my device. Okay. Is that clear, G1 or Shekhar?
Yeah,
Anyone?
yeah, sir. So exactly, it is a kind of a program which is sending to the victim, so saying him like to connect to us. Is that
That's all.
thing
It's
is
an
happening in that?
application generating a
Okay.
basic TCP connection from their system to
Oh,
our system, nothing more.
oh,
And through that
okay.
connection, I can access their entire system. So all I need is one port connection. That's all. From that one single port, I can access their entire device. So we're going to talk about this practically in the next session.
Yeah.
Is that clear? G1, Bhavin, Shekhar.
Yes, sure, complete.
Right. Bhavin, any questions on your end?
Yeah, I do have one question. Actually, I need to know that which kind of the commands are there that we can use to make a practice using this, that you have taught us today, that by using three commands, right? First to open the notepad, then delete the file, and then shut down the computer. So I
Again,
need
I
to
have this
know
notepad
about the
file. I've
platform or
written
the
all those
material.
commands. Yeah, again, as mentioned, I've written those commands here, Bhavin, in a notepad
Mhm.
file. So I'll share this material with you. Again, one command I
Yeah,
wrote was to open up a notepad file. One command was to just delete any random file from a certain location. And the third command was to shut down the system. So these were the
right.
sample commands. There's tons and
But
tons of
like,
other commands which you can learn from these
yeah,
websites.
like these, I need more commands which can help us to do practice on our end. So I just need a platform or some website which have this kind of the knowledge so that we can grab it on that.
I think Codecademy is a good place. So I'm not sure if Codecademy is having batch scripting or not. Let me search here. Oh,
Hmm.
Codecademy batch. Oh yeah, I think it is having batch scripting as well. But is this Windows or Linux? Oh, it's Windows itself. Yeah. So this is one good platform again, Bhavin. There's Codecademy,
Okay.
again a very popular website available on the internet to learn these any kind of coding language. So
Okay.
Codecademy is a place where you can learn this Windows commands as well, and a lot of other programming languages as well if you need. Okay, this is
Okay.
one
Okay.
website. There's one more website as well. I'm not sure if they're providing Windows language or not. So this is one good website, Solo Learn. I used to use this back in the day to learn programming.
Hmm.
Solo Learn is also something. Again, this was again very similar to Codecademy, but not sure if this has command line coding or not. Oh, it has AI related programming languages, but mm, no, I think you have to stick with the Codecademy itself, Bhavin. This doesn't
Okay.
have Windows programming,
I
but yeah,
just need to know about the command and its actual intents. So by using which command we can do what? Like
sure.
this
Again,
kind of the
this is
knowledge I
one good.
need.
Yeah, this is one good place. Or there's Geeks
Okay.
for Geeks. Again, this is not an interactive website, but Geeks for Geeks is a good place to learn any programming as well. This is a very
Okay.
popular website, Geeks for Geeks. You can search for batch scripting.
Hmm.
That also provides you a lot of websites, okay, or a lot of pages for learning it. Okay, so this is one place, and this is another place to learn all these commands.
Okay. So I think so, sir. This Durga sort of started the recording in the initial. So maybe they can share this today's session with us. Maybe.
But again, as mentioned, that's from a different organization. Bhavin. You're connected on a different organization. I'll try to do
Yeah,
one
I
thing.
know.
I'll ask them
I
to
know
get
you
their
are
recording.
sharing from the old batch, but maybe the questions that we have asked from our question library
No, no. Again,
might
as
not be
mentioned.
there in the previous videos. That's why I'm just making request to send this video from Durga sir for today only.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna ask them to share the recording to me, and if I
Yeah,
get the recording, I'll share it to you as well, Bhavin.
yeah, okay.
Or Jeevan and Shekhar, are you able to download the recordings from Durgasoft's drive link? Do you have the
No,
access to
sir.
download or view them?
We
Download
don't have
option is
access.
not there, sir.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't have access to
these people
download.
don't allow you to download Bhavan. Since I am the one sharing you recordings, again, the people from Durgasoft don't even have access to download recordings. I am being a bit more lenient and sharing recordings to download. So I need
Yeah,
to
that
request them.
that
If I get a chance to download the recording, it's good enough. I can share it to you as well, Bhavin.
Yeah,
But
actually,
if
what is happening right now? So, because I am currently in a hospital with my father-in-law, I'm in ER. That's why I'm just attending this lecture from the phone. Even if I was at home and do access of my laptop, then there was no need for the session recordings because I'm parallelly doing on my second laptop. So I'll have all the data. But unfortunately, I am attending from the phone. That's why I'm just forcing you to give me the session recordings. Nothing else for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, sure, Bhavin. Again, I understand. Hope your father-in-law
Yeah.
gets better. I'll request them if they are giving me access to the recordings. Well and good. I can share it to you as well. I do
Yeah.
have all the
Okay.
recordings up to the last session. Actually, I didn't share the
Yeah.
last second session's recording.
No,
You'll have to share.
we are pending since last three recordings we didn't get. So that's
Three.
why, including today and day before yesterday and the previous one also. So we are pending
Oh,
with today three recordings. So
1 second. No, this is not the one. Mm, 8 p.m. May. Yeah. So I have to share scanning part 4 and part 5, I suppose.
right,
This
part
is
four, part five, and today's session two.
and today's. Sure, I'll try to request them, Bhavin. If they are providing me a chance to download the recording, well and good. I can share
Yeah,
it to you.
if they give us, then that's good. But if they don't, then you can share the previous one so that it's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
We
that
can clear the rest of the other questions which are not covered in the previous lectures in the next upcoming lecture, so that they can be also be recorded in that session. No
yeah,
issues for that, sir.
that could be a better alternative. Sure, but I'll try
Yeah.
my best. I'll see if I can get it.
Okay. Yeah.
In the meanwhile, I'll share the recordings for the ones which I have
Sure.
on my system locally stored.
Okay. Okay. No problem, sir.
Sure, guys. So yeah, that's that. Nothing further for our session today. We'll exit the session here, guys. And tomorrow we're going to talk about Trojans practically. How do you perform the direct connection? How do you perform the reverse connection? And also, how do you understand how to prevent a malware attack. How do you distinguish between a genuine file and a fake file? And if you get any documentation, if you get any file from an unknown source, how do you check its safety? How do you verify if it's a malware or not? We'll talk about all that in the next session. Okay. So yeah,
Thank you.
that's done, guys. Nothing further for our session today. Let's disconnect here. Shekhar, any questions? Your mic is unmuted.
No, no, sure. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
So,
Sure. So yeah, that's
sharing this TXT file now.
yeah. I'll share this right away, Jeevan. I'll share it
Yeah.
with the recordings itself. Sure.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Jeevan. No worries. Bye bye. Take care, guys. See you tomorrow at the same time.